Today we are reviewing another vampire book. This week it is Blood and Gold by Anne Rice. This is the 10th book in the Vampire Chronicles, and it is the origin story of Marius, the former guardian, protector, watcher of the former Queen and King of the Damned Akasha and Enkil. This book is from the perspective primarily of another vampire named Thorn, who's been around for a long time. He was asleep underground for most of what happened in the earlier books, but he finally wakes up in our more modern age, and he seeks out another vampire for company. He comes across Marius, and he beseeches Marius to tell him his story. And like the other origin story books in the series, this book touches on aspects that either we don't already know about the character from earlier books, or if we do, they're from a different perspective. So, we know a lot about Marius from the Vampire Lestat, in which we are told about what his human life was, to a point, from his perspective, and how he was captured and forcefully changed into a vampire, to him finding Akasha and Enkil and taking them away as their guardian. And of course, Marius was a major player in the Queen of the Damned, naturally, as part of the council of vampires that was gathering together to stop Akasha's rampage. Then in Pandora's origin story, we learn a little bit more about Marius' human life for a bit, as well as some of his early life as a vampire and his interactions with Pandora at that time. And then through the book Vampire Armand, from Armand's point of view, we learn of some stuff from Marius there as well, from during, I think this is approximately around the time of Renaissance Italy, or heading into Renaissance Italy. All through Armand's point of view, of course. So, this book, when Marius begins his tale to Thorn, he only briefly goes over some of the earlier stuff, summarizes it, and his story proper doesn't pick up until it picks up right at the point in which he separated from Pandora the first time around. So that is all original stuff that if you've read all the books up to this point, this is new stuff. And then the parts involving Armand are, of course, all from Marius' point of view, so you get a bit of a different view and understanding of those events as a result, which is good. Now, the first time I read this book, it was the very first book I owned as a teenager, and it was also the second one I read after Vittorio the Vampire. So, as you can imagine, I didn't know as much about Marius then as I do now, but I still really, really enjoyed the book, and I really enjoy the book now. I was so happy this book was so good in my eyes. It was just, after not liking Vittorio the Vampire when I originally loved it, I was really, really, I was dreading reading the book in a way because I didn't want it to be soiled in my eyes. And let's be real here, Marius is no angel. He's made his mistakes, lots of mistakes. But the great thing is that he acknowledges his own flaws. I think in a way, which is understandable, that now that I'm reading all the books in the series in proper order, that I have a much better understanding and respect for Marius as a character now, because I know all his story now, whereas previously when I read the book I didn't. So I still enjoyed the book then, but I didn't have the full context of knowing everything. It's still not a perfect book in my mind. I don't know, I can't pick out any flaws offhand, but I do know it's definitely not a 5-star book. I believe I rated it 4 stars on Goodreads and 4.5 on the Storygraph. It's definitely one of the better books. It feels a lot more like the Vampire Lestat to me, without actually being the Vampire Lestat, of course. So, out of all the books since the Vampire Lestat, it's definitely the better one. For sure. And I am partially biased because I really love Marius as a character. But I mean, that's not exactly a bad thing. I do feel you can read this book without having any context to the previous stuff and still enjoy it. You do get more of an enjoyment out of it if you know the other stuff, but I wouldn't exactly say it's required, because again, there's a bit of a summary involved, so if it's like the first book you're coming into the series about, there's just like, oh, here's a basic rundown as to what's gone on. Alright, that was Blood and Gold by Anne Rice. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Why is that? Are you gonna pick it up? Have you already picked it up? All that jazz. Let me know in the comments below. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching this video today, and I will talk to you later. Bye!